It's Wednesday, what a happy day. It's Wednesday, what a happy day. It's Wednesday, what a happy day. What a happy, happy, happy day. Good morning, boys and girls. It's so nice to see you. And it does look like it's going to be a beautiful day. And when these beautiful things in spring start to happen, it makes me think of one of my favorite stories this time of year. It's a classic, and it's called The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I'm going to read it to you right now. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put into a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. Peter lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe among the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster. I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Peter rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. He tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp from sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. There was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then Peter tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still. Peter thought it best to go away. He had heard about cats from his cousin, Benjamin Bunny. Peter went back toward the tool shed. Suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter scurried underneath the brushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out, climbed upon a wheelbarrow, and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned toward Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running and never looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea. She gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. And that, boys and girls, is the end of our story. My question to you is this: should Peter have listened to his mother in the first place, and why? Oh, I hear somebody, and it's my friend. Hello, word bird. Did you bring anything with you today? What did you bring? Well, let's get it. We'll be right back. I see that we have the rhyme bag today. Let's take a look and see what's inside it. All right. I wonder, boys and girls, over the last couple of days, were you able to find any objects in your home or in your backyard that rhyme with each other? Well, let's just take a look and see what WordBird has for us. What would you call that? I would say that's a clock. Now, let's take a look inside the bag. Oh, boys and girls, what do you think is in this bag that rhymes with clock? I'll give you a little hint. It's something that you might find in your drawer in your bedroom. Well, boys and girls, if you said sock, you are correct. And look at this. It's a sock. So sock and clock rhyme. But we're going to play another little game that you brought, right, Bird? All right. Well, let's take a look at our new game. I'm going to put a little chart right here, and I'm going to put 3 words on our chart. 2 of them rhyme, 1 does not belong. So let's take a look. The first one, that's a picture of a rake. The next one is a picture of a mouse. And the third one is a picture of a cake. Rake, mouse, cake. Which 2 words rhyme? If you said rake and cake, then you are correct. Let's do this again. Here are the next 3 words. We have, chicks. The next is a picture of bricks. The next is a picture of a hat. So we have chicks, bricks, hat. Which 2 words rhyme? If you said chicks and bricks, you are right. This is so much fun. Let's do one more. Okay. We have dish, pop, and cup. So we have dish, pop, cup. Which 2 rhyme? If you said pop and cup, you are right. I had a lot of fun doing this, boys and girls. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Be sure to get in touch with your teacher through our emails that have been sent to you. We look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, boys and girls.